Starting the recording, so no swearing. um, it's 4:01. Let's rock and roll because I got a lot to cover.
Do you want me to give you any reminders?
We'll see. If I don't go full screen on the PowerPoint, then I can see the clock and I'm okay. But if it seems like I'm not getting through it and it's getting close, tell me.
All right.
Okay. So, character sheets are due at 5. Hopefully you've already got those. There seemed to be some confusion with groups. I'm not sure if it was this class or the other class. I tried my best to just put people in groups, and then other people were like, I already had a group. Why'd you put me in this group? And so hopefully everybody got it done. Third, I didn't look at Right Clubs yet. I'm a horrible, horrible person. Fourth, I've been meaning to say this all week. At the beginning of the week, the faculty had some emergency vote that they allowed any student for this term to switch to pass fail for the course, for any course. Did you get an email about that?
Yes.
Okay, you did. So the one thing that you have to do is let me know before like the end of the term. I assume everybody's waiting to see if they're going to pass with a C and then switch to pass fail or whatever. Up to you. Then I'll just tell everybody that every year, despite my best efforts, some people do NR this course, and that's generally because they don't hand something in, or they don't hand a number of things in. So just keep up. I've really changed to a lot of small things, like these character sheets are worth credit now. So in the past, they weren't worth, they were just work product that got you to the final assignment, right? So now I'm giving you credit for the character sheets to make sure you banged them out. Oh, okay. You know more than I do, Jared. The email told us we could decide up until a week after the term ends. Okay, that's fine. Honestly, doesn't matter to me if you get pass fail or A, B, C, D. No, there's no D's at WPI. A, B, C, NR. So, okay. Let's rock and roll because I got a lot to cover. It has no influence on GPA, just course credit. Yeah. Basically, this term is so weird that it's it is what it is. So okay, so we did 3-act structure. Now I want to talk about the hero's journey. Bear with me. I did this in PowerPoint. I don't like it either way because now I've got click to add subtitle here. Here, let's get rid of that. Come on. There is no subtitle. Can I delete it? Yeah, there. Okay, that's better. Because all last, oh, come on. Chat. Let me see the chat. Come on, chat. I know there's a chat window somewhere. Chat. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes it doesn't. Nope. I got no chat window. Okay, well, we'll go with this. I don't know why the chat window hides sometimes. Alt H. It's because it's Microsoft products. Alt H actually does something. This makes me crazy. Chat, breakout rooms. Nope, still got no chat. Okay, well, help me out, Karen. No chat.
Will do.
Okay, so the hero's journey. There's a guy, academic guy, professor of English or maybe anthropology, I'm not sure, named Joseph Campbell. And what he did was collect folk tales, myths, fairy tales, every kind of story from all over the world, every culture he could get his hands on. And being a good academic, he did a very Aristotelian thing in that he tried to list the properties of the stories that he collected. And what he found was that many of these stories had common beats, common parts to them. So he wrote a book called Hero with a Thousand Faces. It's kind of academic. I don't make you read it. You can thank me for that. Although, if you're serious about this stuff, if you want to be a game writer, you should probably read it. Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell. The number one thing I like about the book that we do use for the course is that chapter that I had you read for this week on the hero's journey, because he breaks it down. It's very clear, very understandable. And so let's go over it now. Boom. First step of the hero's journey is the ordinary world. Oh, by the way, the hero's journey template fits in 3-act structure. Witness is a hero's journey. Star Wars is a hero's journey. Fellowship of the Ring is a hero's journey. The Matrix is a hero's journey. Most rom-coms are hero's journeys. You can, the other thing I want to stress is that not every story has to be a hero's journey. I'm not saying that you have to structure your game writing around the hero's journey, but let's face it, most games are hero's journeys. Every Zelda is a hero's journey. Every Mario is a hero's journey. Most action adventure games are hero's journeys. The Diablo games are hero's journeys. All the Tomb Raiders, all the Assassin's Creeds. The hero's journey, there are 14 steps as listed in the book. They don't have to come in this order. And not all hero's journeys have all steps. Some steps are left out. Some steps are ordered differently. This is a template. It's not written in stone, but just like when you learn to draw, first you draw from life, and the point is to make your drawing look like the thing you're looking at. And when you get good enough at that, then you can start breaking those rules, right? So this being the 1000 class, it seems appropriate to start with the hero's journey so that in more advanced classes, you can move beyond it. Okay. So for this class, we're hitting hero's journey. Once you get to the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 classes, mix and match, try other things, play with your writing. Okay. So first step on any hero's journey is to introduce us to the ordinary world, to tell us what normal is. I already went over this in the 3-act structure. It's basically what every Hollywood movie starts with. If it's a rom-com, we see our protagonist going through their boring day, waking up, drinking their coffee, going to work, getting through a boring day at work, and we establish a baseline. In comedies, we see exactly what their life is like, and it's usually crappy in comedy because there's nowhere to go but up. In Star Wars, it's a world at war. We get space battle. In Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, we get all that Shire stuff and all the happy hobbits and happy Gandalf arriving with fireworks, and it's a birthday party, yay. And even that is a special occasion, but it's a normal special occasion. Birthday parties come every year, and it's his 11th birthday. Bilbo Baggins is 111, so that's very exciting. In Witness, our ordinary world is the funeral and the train ride, and even Penn Station. So moving on. The call to adventure. This is the inciting incident. This is the catalyst moment. In Star Wars, it's help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope, when Luke sees that. In Fellowship of the Ring, it's Gandalf saying, this ring that your uncle gave you is more than it seems. You have to take it to Rivendell. In The Matrix, it's follow the white rabbit. In Witness, it's a little weird because we've already said yesterday that the inciting incident is the murder. How is the murder a call to adventure? And yet, that's kind of what it is. It's also John Book arriving and saying, okay, what's the situation? And starting his investigation. So, moving on. The refusal of the call. Heroes all the time say, I can't do that. I have a life. I have responsibilities. I'm no hero. I'm just a normal person. I don't have any skills. In Star Wars, Obi-Wan, or Ben, old Ben, says, oh, this recording, we have to take it to Alderaan. Come with me. And Luke says, I can't. I have to take the power converters to Tashi Station. My uncle will kill me. In Lord of the Rings, Frodo says, why don't you take the ring, Gandalf? Don't tempt me. In Matrix, the day after, when Neo is at his boring desk job, he gets a call from Morpheus that says, the agents are coming for you. They know about you. Follow my instructions. And he talks him through the entire office until he says, now you have to jump out the window. And Neo says, not going to do that. That'll kill me. And he lets himself get captured by the agents. Eventually, our heroes always come around, but that initial refusal is one of the beats of the hero's journey. And remember, you don't have to include all of these. Some stories don't have a refusal. In fact, well, in Witness, if well, there's the refusal by John Book is really that there isn't really a refusal. There's Rachel saying, "We want nothing to do with this. Leave my son out of it. Why do you need my son?" But there's not really a John Book hero refusal. He's gung ho. Then the meeting with the mentor, and I want to stress what a mentor is. Who's the mentor in Witness? Help me out, Karen. Somebody.
Yassine says Eli, Griffin, Eli, Annie, Eli.
Eli. Okay. There's a little fake out. You are right. The mentor is Eli, but there's a little fake out because the original mentor is his old partner. I don't even remember that guy's name.
Jaden said it's the old white guy who portrays them. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah. The boss cop who turns out to be bad. Because think about this. Once John Book finds out that McPhee is a bad cop, that it's a cop who killed the guy, he immediately goes to his old mentor, right? The guy who trained him to be a cop, and says, this is a touchy situation, and looks for advice and guidance. But the switcheroo is that that actual guy is not his mentor. He's the villain, right? And we haven't met the mentor yet. The big thing we need to do to identify the mentor is to look for the person who teaches the hero something they need to succeed in the final battle, right? So in Star Wars, the kind of fake out is Obi-Wan is teaching him how to use a lightsaber. So the final battle is going to be with lightsabers. No, Obi-Wan is teaching him how to let go and use the Force. And so even though our final battle is in a spaceship, he can't win the final battle without use the Force, Luke, right? It's harder to identify what Gandalf teaches, because the thing that Frodo needs to win his final battle is compassion and empathy and basic human decency. And if anything, the thing that Gandalf teaches Frodo is that he can be a part of it, that the smallest among us can have huge contributions, right? So I can't tell you how many times I've seen students say, this person is my mentor, and the person in their story that they identify as the mentor does nothing but tell the hero which way to go. The bad guy is at the top of the mountain, is a character who tells him that is not a mentor. The mentor has to teach the hero something that they need to win the final battle. So remember that. Next is crossing the threshold. Hey, it's 4:20. Just saying.
Okay.
Okay, so crossing the threshold is generally the end of Act 1, right? This is where there's no going back. The hero can't go back to their previous life. The hero has to commit to the journey. In Witness, he commits to the journey by basically passing out, right? He crashes into the birdhouse. If anything, maybe the threshold is when he says there isn't going to be a trial, because he leaves behind his own world of, I am a cop who brings justice. He acknowledges that there will be no justice in this case. And he moves into a new world, right? The world he moves into is actually different than the one he thought he was moving into, because he thought he was going to, go hide out in a motel in Oshkosh, Pennsylvania, and he ends up in Amish country. In Lord of the Rings, there's a fake out, because Sam has that little scene where he says, this is the farthest I've been from the Shire, Mr. Frodo. I take one more step and I'm further than ever I've been before, or something like that. And it's a very clear threshold moment, but A, Sam's not the hero. And B, Sam can just turn around and walk back. So there is no real threshold there. When is the crossing of the threshold in Fellowship of the Ring?
Griffin suggested it might have been the Fellowship is formed.
The Fellowship is formed. Is there a moment there?
Griffin, was there a moment?
Like a specific moment?
So Yassine says when the Fellowship leaves Rivendell?
Well, a little before that. So think about this, but you're hitting it. You're right in there. The original journey is Gandalf says, take this ring to Rivendell, and big hero people will take over, right? I've got the wisest guy. I've got the best of every race on the planet is showing up at Rivendell. We'll decide what to do with this. You just show up with the ring, right? So we've got the best dwarf, the best elf, the best human or couple of humans, the wisest old elf. It'll be great. And we'll take care of that. And as soon as we get to the Council of Elrond, all these superheroes, and think about it, they are the Avengers of Middle Earth. They start fighting. It's just pandemonium. It's crazy. And Frodo is done. Frodo can walk out of that room and go, I don't know, the heroes, they're fighting, but they know better than me. I'm just a hobbit. But he doesn't. He says, I will take the ring to Mordor. And that's when he commits. He's going the whole way. And that's really when he becomes the hero, right? Because all of these superheroes can't do it. But the one person in the room who everybody else trusts with that ring is the nobody, right? So Frodo forms the Fellowship. Frodo's the one who forms the Fellowship, not Gandalf, not Boromir, not Aragorn. He's the one who says, I'm going, who's coming with me, right? In The Matrix, he meets with Morpheus, and Morpheus says, blue pill, red pill. He can go home. He can take the blue pill, but he takes the red pill. Everything is different. He can't ever go back to the Matrix. Star Wars, we already identified. He can't go home because home is a smoking hole in the ground, right? So he's got to go on the journey. Okay, moving on. Oh, also, remember, crossing the threshold is the end of Act 1. So if you think about it, the first 5 steps in the hero's journey are kind of Act 1 steps. Remember, again, they don't have to be in this order. Think about it. We don't meet the mentor in Witness until Act 2. If Eli is the mentor, then we don't get to meet him really until after we have crossed the threshold. Okay, moving on. So this is a compound one. This is the one that has 6A, B, and C. Tests, allies, and enemies is basically all of Act 2. Tests are the rising action, the various trials that the hero has to overcome. Allies are where the rest of his or her. Remember, heroes don't always have to be male. Heroes can be female. Also remember that mentors don't have to be old guys with beards. In many ways, the mentorship role is shared in Witness among Rachel, Samuel, and Eli. Samuel teaches him about the silo, shows him how to get the water pumped without electricity, shows him kittens, right? He takes him through life on the farm. Samuel is as much a mentor to him as Eli. Allies are sidekicks, right? So we form a unit in Witness. We have that family. We have John Book, Rachel, Samuel, Eli, even Daniel. Daniel's a frenemy, right? Daniel helps him do carpentry during the barn raising. He shows him the proper way to drink lemonade. He shows him that yes, you can be proud and be Amish, or somewhat vain and be Amish. He's got buttons.
So the Griffin's wondering if the partner as well.
The partner, yes, absolutely. The partner back home is a sidekick. Lots of sidekicks end up dead. That also spurs, there's a whole criticism of the idea that many women in stories of late, or not of late, but in stories in the 20th and 21st century are only there to be victimized so that the hero, the male hero, can grow and change. So the only purpose for women in their lives is to get killed or sexually assaulted so that heroes can have righteous anger, right? And actually, this is called fridging, because there was a DC Comics story called Identity Crisis, where they took Elastic Man, Ralph Dibny, who is kind of a minor DC character. He's one of the Justice League, but he's got goofy, elastic powers. And he's kind of whenever he's got his own book, he's kind of a comic character. But he has been married to the same woman in a normal, happy, non-soap opera relationship for like 40 years, right? And that doesn't happen a lot in comic books. Comic books are soap operas. So the idea that there's this stable relationship that's kind of the center of the Justice League, and a lot of times Ralph Dibny is supposed to be a good detective, along with his stretchy powers. But a lot of times he's like the chair guy. He's the guy who's on the computer at home on the phone telling the real heroes some fact. And then at the end, his wife shows up with cake for everybody, right? So this, it was in the 90s, I think, maybe the early aughts. This story called Identity Crisis shows up. I think it was by Brian Michael Bendis. And the very first thing that happens is they kill off Ralph Dibny's wife. And not only do they kill her off, he discovers her because her body is stuffed in the refrigerator of their apartment. So this became known as fridging the girl, right? Women get fridged. Because it was a cheap way. They sacrificed this 40-year-old relationship so that they could make Ralph Dibny a more interesting character, because now he's tortured, right? So that was a long tangent, and I don't have time for long tangents today. The tests are all of the obstacles. The allies are kind of the fellowships forming. So in Witness, we get our families, our family. In Star Wars, we get Han, Chewie, Obi-Wan, Leia, and Luke. In The Matrix, we get all the people on the ship. In Fellowship of the Ring, we get the Fellowship, and together we've got some sidekicks, and we identify who the bad guys are, if there are bad guys, and we move on to the meeting with the goddess. Just like the mentor, the goddess isn't just a lady, right? Men can be goddesses. At some point in the second act, the hero will fail. They will fail at one of their tests. Something bad will happen. Maybe a sidekick will die. Maybe a mentor will die. And they will think of giving up the journey. They will think of giving up the quest. And at that point, they meet the goddess, and the goddess reminds them why they're doing this in the first place, right? So the clear choice for the goddess in Witness is Rachel. Rachel embodies hearth and home and family. She is a mother. She will do anything to keep her son safe, and she charges John Book with keeping her son safe no matter what, right? In Star Wars, the goddess is Leia. Oh, one of the other things the goddess does is once they remind the hero, they reinvoke their spirit, their will to continue. They give the entire party gifts of some sort, right? So in this case, in Star Wars, Leia gives Luke his dearest wish, which is to pilot a starfighter. She gives Han and Chewie their dearest wish, which is a big pile of money to pay off their debts. She gives C-3PO and R2-D2 their place back in the Resistance. And she reminds, well, in this one, Luke is trying to remind Han of his better nature. She is the reason why Luke does this, like adventure and justice and goodness, right? In Fellowship of the Ring, any guesses on the goddess in Fellowship of the Ring?
Yeah, they've already been all over the chat with Galadriel giving the magic robe.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when Frodo meets Galadriel, she is Frodo has just lost Gandalf, and he's things are bad, and she shows him what the Shire will become if uh, the he doesn't destroy the ring, right? So she reminds him that he is fighting for the goodness of the Shire. Um, she gives everybody all the gifts. Gives Frodo the jar of light. Gives Sam, we don't see it, but in the books she gives him a box of dirt to grow things in his garden. Um, she gives Aragorn and Legolas weapons. And somebody in the first thing, because I don't remember what she gave Boromir, but they said she gives him a belt. And she gives Gimli 3 hairs from her head. And she gives everybody elven cloaks and Lembas, which if you've read the books, he goes on and on about Lembas, which is basically elven hardtack, which will let you march for a day on a few crumbs because it's so good. And of course, hobbits eat it by the pound. So again, goddesses don't just show up and say, hey, you should keep going. They are about spirit and will and the reason we fight. And they give gifts to help everybody on their way. Moving on, we have atonement with the Father. A lot of times this is combined with mentor stuff because mentors are obvious father figures. It's not always. So in Witness, we don't get an atonement with the Father till the end of Act 3, where he convinces his father figure, who's the villain, that justice will not be served this way, that he has lost the thread, that he is no longer a good cop. It's interesting that it is words that save the day, not guns, right? In Witness. In Star Wars, we don't really get an atonement with the Father until Return of the Jedi, when he forgives and turns Darth Vader back to the light side, right? A lot of heroes' journeys leave this out. There may not be fathers. I'm going to keep going. Approaching the cave. This is preparing for the big ordeal, right? There's a whole scene in Shakespeare's Henry V, where it's the night before the big battle, and King Henry disguises himself as a soldier and walks among his troops to kind of talk to them and see how they're feeling. And it's because of that he learns that they know they're outnumbered and outgunned, and they're probably all going to die, but they have good spirits. They trust in their leader. They think God is with them, and thus they'll carry the day. It is when the hero prepares, right? So in Witness, it's after the bully stuff, right? We don't really see a lot of it, but it's all implied. He fixes the bird cage. He has a talk with Eli that we don't see, where Eli says he knows he has to go. He'll be leaving in the morning. He gives Samuel his toy, right? And in the end, he passionately smooches with Rachel, right? And these are all things he does to prepare for his final ordeal, which he thinks is just leaving. But it turns out to be the big fight of Act 3. So moving on, approaching the cave. Why? Come on. I have 2 approaching the caves. Okay. The ordeal. This is the big third act climax where in Star Wars, it's the Death Star trench run. In Witness, it's the whole big shootout, death by Korn. The hero uses what the mentor has taught him in order to carry the day. So John Book uses what he's learned on the farm to defeat the bad cops, right? He kills with corn. He baffles them with cows. They ring the bell, and he shows evil to as many people as he can in order to convince evil that they can't win. And that's the end of most movies. Usually we don't get much beyond that, right? But a reward, this is Star Wars, everybody gets a medal, right? In Fellowship, we don't really have much of a reward. There's the actual Sam sticking with Frodo because Frodo is leaving and Sam won't let him go. So friendship and love save the day. This is what he gets for going through this horrible ordeal with Boromir. Okay, moving on. The road back, again, we don't care about this in modern Hollywood movies. It's very rare that we see our hero go home again. But in more traditional folklore, that journey back where everything is different because the character itself is different. Characters grow and change. That's what makes stories interesting. So going home to find that home is different because the hero is different is really what the road back is about. Maybe there are minor obstacles until we get to the resurrection, which is the bad guy is back. Oh my God. The best resurrection example I can think of is from Die Hard, where it's the battle is over. Hans Gruber is dead. Sorry, spoiling Die Hard. John McClane meets Al, the cop. They shake hands. John McClane kisses his wife. They all are wrapped in blankets, ready to be evacuated to the hospital. And then, whoa, the blonde terrorist has been hiding amongst the hostages all along, and he throws off his blanket and pulls up a gun, stuff happens, and we have to defeat that last evil. In the book, The Lord of the Rings, when the hobbits get back to the Shire, Saruman hasn't died. He has fled and taken over the Shire and turned it into an industrial wasteland. And now they have to get rid of Saruman in the Shire. And finally, returning with the elixir, this is what the hero needs. In many cases, the original journey starts out because someone is cursed or sick. There's a game called Brothers, where the entire game is these two brothers, their father is sick, and they have to go get a on-the-nose elixir to heal him. And the entire game is this journey of these two brothers to get a healing elixir to bring back to their father. And things happen along the road there, but they actually do get back, or somebody gets back to heal dad with an elixir. Again, we usually skip this part in Hollywood movies. Okay, so we've gone through. I noticed there are only 12 steps, but 6 has A and B, so I count 14 steps. Let me switch to is this it? No. I'm sorry. Let me stop the share and switch my browser. Yeah, because my browser is Zoom. And let me switch to this and share this screen. Okay, so at this point, you and your partner should have 6 characters, right? That was the assignment that's due in 14 minutes. So I want you to take those 6 characters, and we're going to use 5 of them. One of them is going to be your hero. One of them is going to be your sidekick. One of them is going to be your mentor. One is going to be your goddess, and one is going to be your villain. Okay? The 6th character is free. You can throw him away, throw her away, throw it away, or throw them away. Or you can have 2 sidekicks, or give your villain a sidekick, or use them for something else. Use them as a signpost along the way. Up to you. You only need 5 of your 6. For the 3-person group with 9, you only need 5 of the 9. You've got 4 extra characters. Have fun with them. You are going to write a story. Along the lines, you are going to hit at least 6 of the 14 beats of the hero's journey. Okay? Honestly, that shouldn't be hard because you've got ordinary world, probably you're going to start with. Call to adventure, you need an adventure. Mentor and goddess are both steps. So if you have those characters, you're going to have those steps. So that's 4 out of 6 right there. Again, they don't have to be in any particular order, and you don't have to use all 14. You have to use at least 6. It has to be 5 pages, double spaced. Okay. Going by 3-act structure.
Juicy is interested in what writing format is it?
Prose. Just
yes.
Write a short story.
And yes.
Okay. So if you have a 5-page 3-act play or 3-act story, and your first act is a quarter, how long, whereabouts would your first act be over in 5 pages? What is a quarter of 5 pages? Anybody? Did they get it? Can they do math? Come on, they go to WPI.
Zach is like, ooh, 1.25.
1.25, thank you. So if you get to a quarter of the way through your second page and you're not crossing a threshold, you're not starting in on your second act, you are writing too long. That said, shoot for 5 pages, right? And usually the challenge here is to keep it to 5 pages, right? You are going to write this story with your partner. So please, please, please get together with your partner. One of you sit there and tell the story, and the other one type it. then I would say do it for every page. One person tells a story, the other types it. Once you get through the first page, switch, because the person who's talking is probably more creative. Just tell me the story and I'll write it down. But the person who's typing has more power because they decide what exactly goes on the page. So keep switching back and forth. Second, please, please, please don't just say, hey man, I'll write the first 2.5 pages and then I'll share the Google Doc with you and you finish it, okay? Please don't do that. Work together, write the story together, switch off who's typing, who's writing, and because I can't tell you how many times I have read stories for this assignment, and I get about 2.5 pages in. It's been great. I'm reading. Oh, it's hitting the beats. There's really interesting dialogue, the well drawn characters, and then I get 2.5 pages in, and the grammar goes to hell. They sound like totally different characters. It becomes a mess, and I'm like, oh, one person who's really good at writing sat here and did 2.5 pages, and then the other person who's not so good at writing just sank the whole thing. So you should both be part of both, okay? I would recommend just tell the story. However long it needs to be, let it be. And then sit there and shape it. Okay? Cut it down to 5 pages after you've got it finished. Make sure it makes sense and be proud of it. Don't give me something you think is crap. Make it good. Because I have read at this point hundreds of these hero's journey stories. They don't have to be action adventures. They don't have to be fairy tales. You can write romantic comedies. You can write dramas. Dramas can fit this too. You can write an interior drama about a murder in an old house, right? And our hero can go on that journey. Any kind of story can fit the hero's journey template. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. I see a lot of stuff. Suddenly different character. Yes, exactly. So work together. Again, get together with your partner, use your characters, come together as one voice, right? And write me this story. It's due Monday at midnight. Okay? Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. That's my day. Have a good weekend. Wash your hands. Stay home. Okay, stopping the recording.